unexpectedly on YouTube, par for the course right now, but we're back up on YouTube. So if you are logging on Instagram and you'd like to see pictures and video, you'll have that over on YouTube. So feel free to click over to YouTube. If you're on Instagram, don't know how to get there, there's a link in my bio on Instagram. But if you just go to YouTube and search for Sean's Couture Cuties, you'll find my YouTube channel there. We do have the chat feature and screen sharing feature over there, so you will be able to see what I'm going to be sharing with you guys tonight. Welcome back to our live feed. Yes, if you couldn't tell, my voice is not the best in the world. I'm going to do my very best to maintain my composure through this because I have been literally like at death's door for the last couple of days. So yeah, I actually feel okay today. Yesterday and the day before, I couldn't even get out of bed. It was bad. Couldn't talk, couldn't get out of bed, that kind of thing. Last night, during the middle of the night, my fever broke. So I actually felt a lot better. I've been feeling a lot better today. I still don't have an appetite, but I'm forcing myself to eat. I did go to the gym. Just got a full body pump in. It's the first time I've been to the gym in a week, which is fucking crazy. That's not like me at all. But I wanted to get going on this because we're already halfway through the week now, and I haven't talked about anything that happened at Olympia yet. So I wanted to at least get into Bikini tonight because that's been the hot topic. That's what everybody's been talking about, and that's what I wanted to review with you guys tonight. So that's what I'm here for. I actually, like I said, today I don't feel bad. Like, it's just frustrating more than anything else because I can't talk like I normally talk. I can't breathe like I normally breathe, those kinds of things. So I'm going to do my best to not get too overly animated today, because if I do that, I start coughing and things like that. So if I'm more like even keel, I'm doing that on purpose just so that I don't get into like coughing fits and stuff with you guys here on live. So I'm doing my best here. But I did want to go through the top, at least top 5 tonight, maybe even top 10, depends on how my voice is holding up, for Bikini, because man, it was a show. It was a show, you guys. And the funny part about it is when we did our prediction video, what we talked about pretty much is how things went down. When it came to, we knew it was going to come down to who gets into what call outs, and that was going to make the difference. That was going to make the changes. Almost everybody that we thought was going to be in the top 15 ended up there. There's a few that didn't. A few other people got in, that kind of thing. But across the board, we were pretty close. Then it just came down to who actually came in their best the day of the show. So first thing I'm going to show you guys is first call out. Okay. What did I do? It's been a while since I've used this, so give me a second so I don't screw this up. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the chat overlay so we have more space on here. There we go. Okay. Let me pull that up here. There we go. Now, this is the only video out of all of them that I wasn't able to actually download from Dropbox, so it may be a little bit lagging when I start hitting play, but I wanted to show the videos as much as I could because we've all seen NPC News Online, the pictures. I will pull those up as well as we go through each individual competitor, but I had great seats right smack dab in the center, as close as I could possibly get, so I got some really good footage. So this was our first call out. This played out almost how we thought it was going to. Again, sorry, I'm going to probably do that a half dozen times over on here. The main difference here, though, is that we thought there was going to be 8 in first call out, and there was 9. Okay, so you'll see here in this first call out, Jen Dory was put right smack dab in that center, right? So this is why this became such a exciting Olympia, because we all just kind of assumed after prejudging that Jennifer was winning it. We all thought that. Everybody thought Jennifer was winning this, right? Because during this first call out, she was stuck in that center box and she never moved out of that center box. Now, they did bring the top 4 back out and compared the top 4, and that's where the scoring actually happened. So as far as breaking down first, second, third, and fourth. Now, they're moving around into their final positions, that kind of thing. I'm just going to let this play as I'm talking a little bit here. So I will say that this kind of played out almost how I hoped it would. Prior to prejudging, I talk to AJ a lot. He's on our live feed sometimes. He's out there in Norway, so he's a big fan of Maureen because he's from Norway. And he was asking me who my picks were. And I said that I had picked Jennifer to repeat. I said, however, the way that I'm seeing her, I said, I'm concerned she might be a little bit too lean. This was prior to prejudging. This was before they had gotten on stage. This is just based on how I'd seen people walking around in Vegas. I said, if she is too lean, I said, then what I would like to see happen, if everybody else is at their 100% best, then I would like to see Maureen win it. I'd like to see Ashley in second. I'd like to see Jordan in third and Deraja in fourth. That was what I told him. Because those, to me, when they are at their 100% best, are what I consider to be bikini perfection, right? Now, come to find out when they all got on stage, Jennifer was not too lean. She is leaner than she was last year, which I do actually think hurt her. And we will go into that when I actually go through her video and her pictures and stuff like that too. But she was not as lean as I thought she was going to be, just based on what I'd seen from previews and things like that. So I was actually very, very happy with how all of these results came out. Because my concern going into the Bikini Olympia was that I didn't want to see really hard, lean physiques get rewarded. And they didn't. Across the board, if the girls that were on stage were too hard, if they had those really like sharp tie-ins into their hamstrings, that kind of thing, they were in last call out or close to it, which was a very clear statement that they don't want to see that. So I was very, very happy to see that. I really don't think that this judging could have gone any better than it did. I think it was 100% spot on. Now, we're going to go into each one of these top girls, but you can see this is kind of where first call out ended as far as their placements are concerned. So at this point, what we've got going on here is we've got our top 9. So that means second call out. When these girls come out for a second call out, it's only going to be one more person that adds into that top 10, right? Only one more person is going to get into that top 10. This first and second call out were massive. And they were hugely important. Now, what you'll see, which is crazy looking at this right now, is, I'm not super surprised about these 4 here in the center. Seeing Deraja move up was fantastic. Her conditioning was so much better than what we saw at Battle of Texas. So we're happy to see that. But what was interesting, what we didn't see coming, was Laura Lee on the outside, Janet on the outside, and Issa all the way on the outside. And what about this right here? Amy coming in. She ends up placing 6th at her first Olympia ever, right? So the next person that comes into the second call, I'm not going to go to the second call out yet because we're going to use that for another video later on. But the next person that comes into second call out that gets into the top 10 ends up being Phoebe. Phoebe ends up being your 10th girl. Again, her first Olympia, and she ends up placing 7th. Now, if you guys remember during our preview, what did I say? I said the important thing was for these girls to get into these first call outs, and then they can work their way in. Then they can end up working their way in. I initially had our top, Issa and Janet, they had already won the Olympia in the past. So I had them up in the top 6. But because these new girls got in here and they were able to actually work their way in, they were able to bump them out. That's crazy. I think it's amazing. This is what we talked about during the preview. We said, listen, if they come in at their best, they can knock some of these girls out. And they did. So it was really actually very cool to see that happen, right? So I don't think anything here was a huge surprise until we got to finals. Excuse me. Once we got to finals, and then we were all shocked. Every one of us was shocked. I mean, if you guys saw our story when we were watching, and Maureen got crowned the winner, we were all shocked, right? So I'm going to go into each individual girl next, and then we'll go from there. So let me see. I did pull up videos for each of these girls. So give me 1 second to get them up. Let's do Phoebe. Laura Lee wasn't on the outside during judging. She was in the 5th place spot during judging. So I'm not sure what you mean. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with our top 10. So Phoebe ended up in 10th. Now, funny story about this is when I saw Phoebe at Meet the Olympians, she pulled me aside and she just said, thank you for my critique of her on Battle of Texas. She goes, because actually the things that you said were right. She goes, and we fixed some of the things that you mentioned. If you notice her hair, and I'm going to show you a couple of side-by-side photos that I pulled for her too. Look at her hair in this back pose. It's perfect. It's showing her delts, right? It's showing her delts. Yeah, Phoebe was 7th. But again, she wasn't in first call out. She was moved. She got herself to work in as she was on stage. She was able to work her way in during confirmation rounds. So back pose is pretty much perfect here. My only critique on her back pose during Battle of Texas was that her hair was covering her shoulders, so she didn't use as many extensions. So she said she really appreciated my feedback, and that just what I said about her being able to get into the top 10 on our preview video was really encouraging and made her feel really good. So that made me feel really good that I was able to help encourage her for this too. So Phoebe also, let this play through a little bit, also fixed her front pose. Now you may not be able to see it here as much in the video because I am a little bit off to the side, but I'm going to pull up a side-by-side comparison so you can see the difference. And that was something that I mentioned as well, that she was just twisting a little bit too much in her front pose. She needed to open up a little bit, which she did. And her glam was also a lot better at the Olympia too. Her glam was a lot better. Just overall, a little bit more oomph and more pop to it, more power to it. And her presentation was right on. She didn't do anything crazy, nothing over the top. She just came out, showed her physique, and was out, done, which I thought was perfect. I did pull up side by sides. So I'm going to show you this from Battle of Texas. Here we go. From Battle of Texas to Olympia, right? So look at the difference in her glam. Look at how much she just looks prettier here, right? Look at the difference in her front pose. Can you see how she's more twisted sideways here versus more straight on, right? Big difference in the front pose. This just looks so much more balanced and so much more confident too. And like I said before, this suit top I thought was a little bit too long, but that's also because she's twisted too much to the side. Now that she's out to the front, it's not as noticeable how long that suit top is. Fixed it through her pose, right? And then we flip her to the back, and her hair made all the difference. This is how little minute details can make a huge, huge difference on stage, right? Her hair makes all the difference right here. She just didn't put in the extra pieces of extensions. So now you see her delts. All of a sudden she's got a complete package in the back, right? So really, really good job. Now, again, I'm just bringing her up first, but she did end up placing 7th, okay? The reason I'm bringing her up first is because she was the first one in the second call out that was added in. Okay, the first call out was 9 girls. Phoebe was in the center of second call out. So when they brought them back out for confirmation round at the end of prejudging, she worked her way from 10th up into 7th. Yeah, it's a huge difference. Huge difference. And she has a really well-proportioned body from front to back. So it's just those little details, right? So she actually placed 7th, okay? Um, so next thing I'm going to share. Oh, hang on, let me pull this up. Again, sorry, I'm taking my time with talking because if I get too animated, I'm going to start coughing and sneezing and all sorts of stuff. So let's go with 10th place next to go with. So we're going to go with Romina next. And so Romina ended up in 10th. There we go. Which I felt like this was a very, very good package for Romina. I do think she was just a touch tighter at Atlantic Coast where she won, which was a little bit better, but this was still enough to get her into the top 10. She's got those round bubbly glutes. They just look really, really good. Again, really fluid, easy presentation, nothing crazy, nothing over the top, really polished. She's been here before. She's placed top 5 at the Olympia before. So, this is nothing new to her. The fact that she can stay up in the top is pretty remarkable for her. I know why Jordan didn't get placed higher, but we're not going to talk about them yet tonight. We're going to use that for another live feed. When we get outside the top 10, we're going to do that later. Okay. If I could talk, we would do it all tonight, but I can't talk. So I have to split it up. We're going to talk about the girls that placed below 10th, probably tomorrow night. Okay. As long as my health is okay, we're going to do another one tomorrow night. But I'll share that. I'll share why. Okay. Oops. Where am I going? Okay, so that was Romina. Now, probably one of the shocks of the show was Issa in 9th. Here we go. The first thing is she's gorgeous, right? She's an absolutely beautiful girl. Her front pose is like bang on. There's nothing wrong with this front pose at all. Suit cut, color, everything. Her actual makeup and hair, beautiful. Gorgeous girl. Like she just was stunning as soon as she walked out on stage. Where Issa has fallen into a problem over the last few years is from the back. And you'll see this as she turns around. Okay, so, oops, let me get her back a little bit. No, one thing that I'm not sure if they did this on purpose or what, but it just bothered me is there's a ton of glaze on her butt. There's a ton of glaze on there. And I don't know if they did that on purpose to try to make it look like her glutes were rounder and fuller. I feel like they might have. But to me, it was just distracting more than anything else. But from the back, to me, she's very unbalanced. She looks pretty thin through her upper body. And she's just not, she's lost some fullness in that upper glute, and she's just not tight enough through here, through this hamstring tie-in. This suit cut, you guys already know how I feel about this suit cut. That's that micro cut. Hate that cut. There's only a few people that can actually pull it off. One of those people being Ashley Kaltwasser, and I don't know anybody else who can. But this particular suit cut did not do her any favors. It actually makes her look even more shallow through here. This suit cut needs to be fuller. So overall, if I was Issa, her placings at the Olympia the last couple of years have just been getting lower and lower. Take some time off. Even take a full year. Even take a full year off. And I don't think she's ever done that. Give your body a chance to breathe for a second and work on getting better balanced. Because she's super young, beautiful, has everything going for her. I just think she needs to take a break. At some point you got to give your body a break and give yourself a chance to actually grow a little bit. And I think that would be very beneficial for her. Her glutes would look fuller if she didn't have that particular cut like that. But still, that would have been enough. It might have bumped her up a placing or two. But really where the issue lies in her in comparison to everybody else is in the hamstring tie-ins. because her glutes aren't bad at all. It's just that, you know, again, this isn't a flattering cut on her, so she does need to fix the cut. But she needs to work on overall just building back there, building it a little bit. Because again, she's freaking, I mean, she's gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like, she just got a great presence, and she can have a very, very long future in the sport if she wants. But just take some time, right? Just take some time. And maybe this particular placing for her would be a cup call, you know, that kind of thing. Give her a chance to go live a little, have some fun, take a moment, you know, that kind of thing, and come back stronger, right? Because I'm sure at this point she's not happy. You know what I mean? I'm sure she's not happy with that. After having won this entire show just a couple years ago, and now barely making top 10, right? So hang on a second here. Where am I at? So in eighth we had Janet. So let me get Janet's video up. Where is she at? Here she is. Okay. And Janet came in pretty much how I thought she was going to. You know, everybody thought that, you know, her preview picture, she looked like she put on a ton of muscle, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, that was just fancy lighting. She has not put on muscle. She's very thin. She's, again, another one of these girls that is so freaking gorgeous. Like, you can't not look at her. She's beautiful, but she's skinny in comparison to the other girls. She doesn't have quite as much muscle as the other girls. I wasn't a huge fan of her presentation either. It was, as you can see right there, it's a very bouncy. Like, watch when she steps out of her back pose. Like, it's very bouncy, and you can't do that when you're trying to present properly. Like, this kind of posing was okay a few years ago, but it's not anymore, right? It's just over the top now. It's just doing a whole lot of things that you don't need to do. I think if she was to calm her posing down a little bit, that would absolutely benefit her. You can see a huge difference between how she's posing and how, like, Phoebe posed, for example. Phoebe's was very, like, smooth and to the point and hitting all the mandatory poses and not all over the place. This is the kind of posing that Janet had a couple years ago when she won this show, and it worked for her then, but it's changed since then. You know, the criteria has evolved. And, you know, all these little hand movements, arm movements, all this stuff, this particular pose is not flattering on her. There's just a lot of little tweaks that would make a big, big difference for her in the presentation aspect. That she's covered up her shoulders, you know, those kinds of things. But the biggest thing she needs to do is she needs to put on size. She needs to put on size. When she stands next to the other girl, she looks skinny. And again, she's got this amazing frame, amazing shape, beautiful face, beautiful look, all of those kinds of things. But she just needs more size. She just needs more size. I think she needs more everything, not just upper glute. I think she needs more everything. She just overall needs, except for the waistline, because nobody needs a bigger waistline, but she needs overall just another layer of muscle on top of her. I actually competed with her in New York. And so I saw her on stage, like, next to Laura Lee, and just saw how small she was in comparison. She's tiny. She's tiny, tiny. She needs to take some time to put some size on. As far as taking the year off, I think that did kill her momentum, 100%. I think that if she had continued to compete last year, this could be a different story. We could be completely talking about a completely different Olympia lineup right now had she continued to compete last year. Because she would have been setting the tone. She would have been setting the standard last year. But the way that the division has evolved over the last year, she needs to grow. She needs to grow. I'm not a huge fan of this suit either. Like, the color is good. I don't have a problem with the color. But, like, the top, and I've said this before, she's worn the suit before, this top is way too small. It's way too small on her. It scares me when I see really small suits like that. It scares me that she's going to fall off it. So that's something else I would change as far as her presentation is concerned. I think the back cut is fine, but I think the front cut is not the most flattering in the world. It shows a whole lot of chest, like a whole lot of not breasts, but chest. And it just makes you look a little bit thinner. You know what I mean? So in that pose, like, again, I'm being critical here of her presentation because I really think that this is something that is an easy fix. This particular pose, look at how thin her shoulders look when she hits that, right? So there's just a lot of little tweaks. And again, this stuff worked 2 years ago, doesn't work anymore. Okay. So those are the reasons why I think she went from, being in that first call out to technically she would have been in second call out had it been a normal show kind of thing. Right. So if she wants to come back and she wants to regain that title, she's got an uphill battle to go. But I think she would need to take some time off and grow. Right. I think, and again, her whole body, her whole body, she needs to grow, except her glutes. Her glutes can stay where they are, but she needs some legs, some shoulders, some overall thickness, roundness, and fullness, right? But again, I'm like splitting hairs here because, again, each of these girls are the top 10 in the world. So always remember that, even though I'm splitting hairs here and I'm talking about all these little things that they can fix, these are teeny tiny little things, right? These are teeny tiny little things that are separating 10th from first. Okay. So always remember that. I am picking them apart because these are very minute details. In any other show, if they weren't next to these other people, they probably would have won. Right. I got to meet you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. So let's see. We are at Phoebe. We just talked about Phoebe. Phoebe did take 7th. So I'll go ahead and pull her video up one more time since we did talk about her already, but I want to make sure we stick her in there. I just wanted to get that thing in there for you. Okay, there we go. So again, Phoebe was in 7th. And I think, again, when we're talking about presentation details, let's look at her posing versus what we just saw with Janet. Okay, so pay attention how she's posing, how fluid her poses are. Nothing is moving out of place as she gets into her poses. Yeah, light it. Yep. This is the difference between a smooth presentation and, like I was saying with Janet, who was just doing too much. So Janet, if you happen to watch this, pay attention. Like this is the kind of thing that could help, right? I really think that Phoebe had a great look to begin with, but her presentation details definitely made a huge difference. And I think the fact that she did Battle of Texas was a huge strategic win on her part because she was able to fix the details that she needed to in order to come into this show and just kill it. I mean, to place 7th in your first Olympia, that's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. So she did a phenomenal job. And again, she was in second call out. She worked her way up. Even her lips were doing something new, like right? Yes, absolutely. She had just a little bit of something extra. She sure did. But yeah, I don't know, it was just an extra piece that she had there. She definitely had that extra bit. And that's what you need going into a show like this. That is what you need going into a show like this, right? The energy was different. She was confident. She was ready to go. Right? So I always like to highlight that kind of thing because, again, she started in second call out. She was the only one in the top 10 that started in second call out, and she ended up working her way up. So that just goes to show you the show's not over till it's over, right? All right, let's go to our next one, which would be Amy. So I had Amy in this position. I had her probably taking 6th or 7th. Let me share her video. Here we go. I loved Amy's look at this show. This guy annoyed me. He kept stepping up in front of me like the whole thing. He was driving me nuts. But anyway, I loved her makeup and hair look at the show. It was beautiful. Like it looked very pretty and feminine and glamorous. She did change her suit to still the same, like she still has a blue. She had a dark blue before. This is that velvet blue, which is again a little bit softer, which I do like. I thought it was a good change on her. And again, if you notice, there's nothing overly crazy about her routine. There's nothing distracting about her routine. She hit her poses and she got off the stage. You know, the judges always say this. What they say is your job, we already know who we want in our first call out when we do first looks. Your job during your routine is to not make us change our mind. Your job is to make us like keep you in the first call out. So everything that you do during your routine is to keep you in first call out. So you shouldn't be doing anything crazy during your routine. This is a very simple routine, right? This dude gets out of the way. But look at how balanced she is from top to bottom. The shoulder width into the glutes and into the waistline. Really, really well balanced here. Really well balanced here. Just enough movement that makes it look fluid to get to the back. And again, she's tight through those hamstrings. Like we talked about with Issa. Issa's missing this. But at the same time, Amy is not overly cut either. It's just tight enough, but just soft enough at the same time. And again, she's straight across the top. This is a very relaxed looking back pose. Really, really good. So I really think that if she continues to work this year, how she did this past year, she'll be in top 5 next year. And that's pretty damn good being your first Olympia, right? Right outside of that top 5. Right outside of that top 5, right? Okay, let's move up to 5th, which was Laura Lee. I'm Laura Lee. And, you know, I said something actually to AJ in text about Laura Lee when she came out for her routine, that she just didn't have that wow factor like she normally does. Like I've seen Laura Lee compete, I don't even know how many times. I've been there in person, I don't even know how many times. But there was just something missing. Couldn't really put my finger on it. Couldn't really tell you what it was, but there's just something missing from that life in her eyes. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it's almost like she's just kind of going through the motions here. Now, maybe that's because she knew she wasn't at her best. I don't know. I have no idea why, but it was like there was just something off about her whole presentation. And when you look at this, I just see, again, an imbalanced physique. Her shoulders are just flat, right? It looked like she was forcing a smile. She wasn't 100% there. She wasn't 100% there. Yes, delts are flat. So again, it could be because she knew she wasn't bringing her best. I don't really know. But what I see from the back pose is all glutes, right? Which is, you know, you have to have great glutes for bikini, don't get me wrong, but it's not all glutes. It's the full package. That I wasn't a fan of either, what she just did right there. That, you guys know this. I'm not a fan of the touching of the back of the hamstring at all. So she toned it down from what she's done before, but she still needs to get rid of it. But yeah, there was just something off, right? She's got a lot of rib cage showing. A lot of clavicle showing. You know, that's just somebody to me that looks like maybe she crashed into the show. As far as her diet's concerned, I'm not really sure. Wait and let her get into her front pose here. So in this front pose, just look at the ribbiness into the rib cage, the clavicle, really flat through the shoulders. You know, there's lots of theories out there that people have been saying and stuff, and that like she put on a lot of muscle, and because she put on a lot of muscle, she had to kind of come in a little bit flat. I don't really know. I don't really know what happened. But this was not her best look. I have seen her do this before, though. A couple years ago, when Janet won, Laura Lee was at the bottom of the top 5. So this has happened to her before. You know, she comes in where people think she's going to take the win, and she ends up barely making that top 5 spot. So I'm not really sure what happened, but it just was not her best look. And I think we all knew that, like, the second she walked on stage. Like, she didn't even have to get into call outs before we realized that, right? You can really tell the difference that Laura Lee didn't have that same light in her eyes. Yeah, agree. Yep. Well, you know, she's still, even when Laura Lee's not at her best, she's still phenomenal. You know, like, I'm picking these girls apart. I'm nitpicking little tiny things. She's still a phenomenal athlete. We just know this is not the normal Laura Lee that we see. This is not the same Laura Lee that won the Arnold. You know what I mean? So she's still a phenomenal athlete regardless. She's going to be up there regardless. But if she doesn't get this under control and she doesn't improve, then she can get leapfrogged. Nobody's unbeatable, right? Nobody's unbeatable. Yep. So she had one also from the, I don't know. I mean, from what I see here, I see somebody who looks depleted. So I don't know why she looks depleted. She just looks depleted to me. I don't know. I don't know what she did going into this prep. I don't know what her carb up was or anything like that. I don't know any of those things. So I would just be speculating, but she looks like she's depleted. A lot of people have speculated that she just puts too much size on in the off season. And she has to diet really hard. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I just know this isn't her best. That's all I know. That's all I can say for sure, is that this isn't her best. But again, going back to that, even at her not her best, she's still a phenomenal athlete. She's still a phenomenal athlete. She's still top 5 in the world. All of that. So when she has a fine balance in the back too, like if her glutes start looking overpowering, and to me, that's all I saw in the back pose, which is not what you want. You do want to see a complete package in the back, right? Let her finish this out. No, her quads are fine. Something else I think may have affected some of these girls is just having to trim their routines down. Laura Lee's another one that tends to have a very long routine. I mean, she had one of the longer ones. They didn't call her off stage as quickly as they did some others. I don't know if you can't see this on there, but her routine was a minute long. Everybody else was 45 seconds, except for Jendori, which, if you're the returning champ, you got as much time as you wanted. Excuse me. I don't know what she needs to do. She just needs to figure it out. So, it's an expo stage floor. It's normal. Got to get used to it. You're going to be on all sorts of different flooring when it comes to stages and things like that. So I will say that the finals stage flooring, that carpet looked a lot thicker, which is hard. But I will say one of the things that was annoying at the expo stage was because it was the expo stage carpet, they had tape on the floor for the box. The tape kept coming up. So that was annoying. That was 100% annoying. They had to fix the tape a half dozen times in between presentations. So we'll see what she does going forward, right? Again, 5th is not bad, but when everybody's expecting you to come in and potentially win it, it's a disappointment, It's a disappointment. So, okay, let's go to 4th, which was Daraja. Let me find her. All right. So I love this look on Daraja. This is a great screen stop, actually, because she's so full and round in her whole body. I still think she can bring her waistline in tighter. If she wants to get up into that winner's circle, which I think she's absolutely capable of doing, she's got to figure out what's going on and get this waistline to be a little bit smaller, right? Now, it was 1,000 times better than what she had at Battle of Texas. I mean, she fixed her conditioning for sure in a matter of a week, right? But this is going to always be her Achilles heel. It's going to be her waistline. So she's going to have to continue to try and figure out that situation there for her so that she can get up into that winner's circle at some point. Because she's still just a thicker girl through the waistline. And you see that come about when she gets in those top 4 comparisons, right? But again, beautiful look, beautiful suit, beautiful hair, beautiful makeup. This is where that conditioning really made a difference right here for her. She did not have this in Texas. I'm sorry. She did not have this in Texas. This is so much better. So much better. This is the conditioning we've been looking for from her all year long. This is the first time that she hit it. I still think she can get some more upper outer glute because, again, she's thicker through the waistline. So she can get some more upper outer glute, and she's got thicker legs too. So add some more upper outer glute onto there. That'll help to pop her a little bit more and to make her waistline look a little bit smaller. And I think that'd be right on, spot on. But this conditioning is so much better than what she had last week. Let's let her keep going. And that I'm not a fan of right there. Anything with touching of the hamstrings, I'm not a fan of. Now, here's the thing. The Raja can get away with this because she's so sweet and innocent, right? Like, it doesn't come off overt with her. It comes off okay with her. But anybody else that's not Deraja can't do this. So if I was a pro, I would say, well, I am a pro, but if I was a pro doing this, I wouldn't try to do this. Don't try to do this. Okay. I was going to say something about this after Battle of Texas, but I was hoping maybe the judges would give her the feedback not to do that. And then it wouldn't happen at the Olympia, but she did at the Olympia too. So again, she can get away with it because she is so innocent. But please don't make this a trend, you guys. I'm gonna call you out if you do it. I'm gonna call you out if you do it because you're not as sweet and like innocent as Deraja is. Okay. Just putting it out there. But overall, this was a gorgeous performance, gorgeous look. And again, nothing crazy when it comes to the posing, except for that one piece that I don't like. But when you look at her overall frame, again, she's very round, very bubbly. She can still stand to come in just a little bit more on the waistline. That would really, really help her a lot. If she can do that, pull up the glutes just a little bit more, I can see her moving up. She's another one that could potentially be in that top spot in the next couple of years, right? So just little physique tweaks, right? Just little physique tweaks. Presentation-wise, she doesn't need to fix anything other than the hand on the glute. That's the only thing I would fix. The rest of the presentation stuff, good to go. I mean, I wouldn't change anything else here. But she was definitely, I was very happy to see this because, again, I just felt like we've been getting want moments from her all year where we haven't gotten the conditioning where we want it to be. This was it. This was it right here. All right. We are up to Ashley in third. Now, I'm going to hand it to Ashley in her presentation. She has come such a long way with her walk and her overall presentation and posing. It's really good to see that. I do not like this suit. She can do green, no problem, but this particular green just didn't pop off of her skin tone right. It was excuse me. It was almost like a pea soup green or something. So if she's going to do green, I would like to see her go more to the dark green again. I personally like her best in red. I've said that before. I personally like the red best. I also like her hair straight better. I wasn't a fan of this hair, and I'll show you why when she gets to the back. Okay, that right there. That's why I wasn't a fan of the hair. It's all PC and everything up in here, right? This just looks messy and undone to me. If she had taken this and brushed it out, I think it would have been fine. But I'm more of a fan of straight hair for her. This just looked like it wasn't finished to me. It looked like it needed to be brushed. But, overall, this was a very good look for Ashley. Again, she's got that tightness, but not too tight. One thing she has a tendency to do is to drop her core a little bit. Little touch there. So watch. You get her where she comes around to the front. See that? She drops her lower abs just a touch. So she still needs to work on that. Yeah, I would agree. I like the makeup better without the red lip. Absolutely. That's the one piece of the presentation that I thought that was way better. Where I think well, that was a good example of what I'm about to say. Where I think she could improve her posing and the look of her presentation is her arms. I didn't mean to really stop her right there, but this is a good example. You get to a good spot. This. So she has a tendency to keep her arms really far away from her body. If she would just let these drop, it would look a lot more fluid. A lot more fluid if she would just let her arms drop. I'm going to play this through so you can see what I mean. Because her poses themselves are good. It's just the in-between moments, the in-between movements. This right here, her arms. See that? She needs to let her arms come all the way down. If she let her arms come all the way down, that would finish that movement. She's leaving it half done, right? She's leaving it half done. These are the teeny tiny little details that I think would take her from third up a spot or two, right? I do still think she needs more shoulders. She's getting closer. But I like her level of conditioning. Again, I was really happy to see the level of conditioning that was rewarded. I didn't want to see overly conditioned girls. She's never overly conditioned. She's always full and bubbly, which is good. That's a good message to send when it comes to this division, right? But again, I think what's separating her from winning another Olympia is those movements like that, right? Those little tiny things. And then, like I said, she just needs some more shoulders, like we've said for a while. So just teeny tiny details would make a difference for her. I do think this was a good package for her. I'm not necessarily sure if this was her best package all year. But again, there's little things that I prefer on her that she didn't do here. Like I said, the suit color, the hair, the hairstyle, those kinds of things that I prefer. But again, can't sneeze at third place, right? Physique wise, I thought she was pretty damn close. Okay, so we're going to go to Jennifer next because Jennifer took second. And then Maureen was your winner. So let me see. Where's Jennifer? She was the one I wasn't able to download, I think. Give me a second. I got to find hers. She was the one video that I wasn't able to download, I think. Where did she go? Here she is. Okay. So for some odd reason, I wasn't able to actually download Jennifer's video out of Dropbox, so it's going to be a little bit smaller. There was 2 videos for some reason I couldn't actually get them to download, so I'm trying to expand it as much as I can for you guys. Here we go. There, hopefully that's a little bit better for you guys. Setting quality. There we go. So let's see if this will play for me here. I may have to bump the quality down. There we go. Let's see if it's a little grainy here. So to be honest with you, I think that Jennifer had one of the most confident posing routines I'd seen the whole show. She obviously knew what she was doing. She went and just killed that posing routine. Let her get through this, and then I'll kind of tell you where it is I think she needed to improve on. Thanks for the ups there, Rachel. Appreciate it. Yeah, hit the like button. Thank you. Yeah, so as the returning Olympia champion, they didn't give them a time limit, so she was able to do as much as she needed to. And I was actually really happy to see this when she got on stage, because I did, seeing the previews and seeing her in person and stuff like that, before she got on stage, I thought she was going to be too lean. I thought she was going to be too lean. Now, I don't think she was too lean. I think she was too lean for her best look. So here's the hard part when we're talking about taking critiques and feedback. She was told she needed to come in leaner, so that's what she did. The problem with that is that we don't know until you actually do it if that's the right look for you or not, right? We got some random spam comment here. Let me get rid of this. Hold on. There you go. Okay. Anyway. Sorry, guys. Trying to get rid of a spam comment there. So what happened with Jennifer getting too lean for her is she became unbalanced, right? She's already a little bit thicker on the lower half than she is on the upper half. So the fact that she got as lean as she did made her shoulders come down. So not only that, but she also lost some fullness in her glutes, which made her a little bit more leg dominant from the back. So if you look at this right here, like, she's in great condition. Don't get me wrong, all of that. She's in shape, but her shoulders are a little bit low, or like small, right? She needed some more mass on her shoulders in order to be able to carry out this level of conditioning on her. Waistline is ridiculous. I mean, looks fantastic, all of that. Now, something else that actually a lot of people have pointed out is her imbalance in her back pose. This is something that, sorry guys, doing my best. I've done okay with my throat so far. This is something that a lot of people have pointed out with her back pose, is that she's got an imbalance in her back pose. This is from posing, you guys. This is why I tell you all the time to pose on both sides in your front pose. She's crunched on this side because that's her front pose side. So that's why this glute over here is smaller than this glute over here. I've told you guys this 1,000 times, right? There's a reason why you have to be equally posing on both sides in your front pose, because it affects your back pose. Not only affects your back pose, but it affects your glute growth. So when you look at her photos and things like that, what you see is this glute on this side is smaller than this glute on this side. And she's off, she's tilted. And the reason for that is because when she gets into her front pose, that's the front pose side right here. So give it a second until she gets back around. See that? That's her front pose side. So that's her front pose side. Where's her back? Front pose side. Back pose. Right? Does that make sense, you guys? You see what I'm saying here? This is why I emphasize this so much. This is why I emphasize posing on both sides so much. I know you guys hate doing it. I know you do, because you've always got one front pose that's better than the other. But the reason why you do it is so that you're balanced in the back. That's so you're balanced in the back, right? So take this as your sign. Take this as your sign, you guys. And I'm going to pull up comparison photos at the very end after we look at Maureen, and you can see what I'm talking about with the comparison photos too. But yes, overall, she still looks phenomenal. But this level of conditioning on her was not the best look. Just for her, it was not the best look. So I think where a calculated risk was taken was bringing this in without testing it first. You know, where Phoebe took the risk by going into Battle of Texas first, that really paid off for Phoebe. Jen probably should have done the same. Jen probably should have done a warm-up show just to test this out. Because if she was too lean, in a week, you can fill out. You know, in a week, you can fill out a little bit more. Pump a little food into those shoulders and you'll be all right. Right? So it was a calculated risk. I understand why she did it that way. But I think that it at the end of the day, she would have been better off doing a warm-up show. Right? Okay, let's go to our winner, which is Maureen. Maureen. Here she is. Okay. Lots to talk about with Maureen, right? I told you guys from the jump that she was dangerous this year. She was dangerous. She just came off of second place at the Arnold. If you're not paying attention to her, you're not paying attention, right? She has phenomenal proportions, front to back to front. When she gets into her back pose, I mean, you literally can't get a better back pose than this. Like, that's perfect. Perfectly symmetrical. She's got just enough hamstring tie-in. She's squared off at the shoulders, makes her waistline look tiny, makes her glutes look full. This is a perfect back pose, right? Now, she's another one. Routine was simple. She didn't even do a walk to the back. Right? Now, I want to point out one thing that a lot of people have been talking about with her is her rib cage, right? Because there's a picture of her floating around that everybody's watching. Let me get to it. There it is, where she's sucked in, right? So she isn't in this position because she's setting into her actual front pose. When she gets into the front pose, it's not as prominent. But this is only during this presentation part. When you watch her in the comparisons, when you watch her at finals, she doesn't have this at all. I think this moment right here was a moment of nerves. I think it's also how the lighting was hitting her on the actual stage. I think it was just a moment where she had a nerve, right? So, you look at them, please. Almost always a bad idea. Laura Lee should have done a watch. Yeah, Laura Lee should have probably done a warm up as well. Yeah, probably would have been smart. So I just want to put this to rest right here. I'll show you. I'm going to pull up comparison photos as our last thing that we do tonight, because she just was setting into her pose. And honestly, I think this particular shot that everybody is seeing was a transitional moment where she was setting up and probably got a little bit of those nerves hitting and didn't fully set into her pose to the last second, right? So they caught her on the camera like this, right? Because when you look at her photos, let me get them real quick. Let me show you something real fast. There we go. When you look at her photos from finals, she's full as full can be. No problem. Right? I mean, it is what it is, you guys. Like, when you're on stage, that's what you're taught. Your training is to have that vacuum, right? Where all of the nitty gritty posing and judging happens is during comparisons. I think she just had a moment of nerves where the camera caught her as she was setting into the pose. Right? She's perfectly fine here. Okay. So let's go back to the video real quick. Now, speaking of debuting a new look, the pink suit. So many thoughts about the pink suit. I was texting Jamie, my coach, during this because she came out in the pink suit, and I was like, look at the pink. And Jamie was like, no. This was before we went through call outs or anything like that. I was like, I love it. And, Jamie is not a fan of pink. It just makes me laugh. We go back and forth about it all the time because I love pink. So she ends up winning in pink. Miss Pretty Muscle, Andrea Shaw, women's female bodybuilding, she won in pink. Natalia also won in pink in women's physique. So now pink is going to be the color this year, you guys. But just so you all know, I had my pink suit first. Just saying. But, people are saying they like it or they hate it, that kind of thing. Here's my thought on the pink suit. And actually, again, I talked about this after the show. And this was my thought on the pink suit, okay? For Maureen specifically. Maureen has a very sexy look. Everything about her is sexy. This walk, sexy. Everything that she does, every movement that she makes, just the way that the shape of her eyes are, she has a bedroom look. She has a sexy look about her. I loved the red on her, but it was almost like the red was a little bit too sexy, right? This pink makes her more girl next door. This pink makes her more girl next door. Okay. I think that this was a very good choice. I think it still gave her the personality. I still think it matched her personality, but I think it toned her sexiness down a little bit, which was perfect because the bikini winner should be the girl next door. Should be the girl next door. Right? So I think this was a very good move for her. And again, something that people critiqued her on in the past is not smiling enough and things like that too. So she bumped up that game. Again, she has that smolder look. That smolder. She's smiling a little bit more. She's just a little bit more girl next door. So I think the pink worked really, really well for her. The eyes, exactly. The eyes. Yep. Yeah, the pink is absolutely a winner for her. And again, doesn't mean that's going to work for everybody, but it worked for her really, really well. Right? And I love seeing this too, because it also shows people that you don't have to stick to the typical purple or blue or whatever. Yes, those are safe colors, but it's okay to express a little bit of your own personality too. Right? I think she was a great pick. And again, I spoke to the judges after the show. And as most of you probably seen Becky's post that she put out, and I actually pulled that up so I could show that to you too about the criteria. The criteria has not changed. Okay, Maureen's look is what bikini is, right? So this is Becky's post. Let me pull this up. Here we go. The criteria has not changed. If you haven't seen this post, go find Fit Pro Becky on Instagram. She's got it up there. This is attached to Maureen's actual posing routine. And Maureen checks all the boxes. She checks all the boxes. She's that attainable bikini look. Yes, it's still very, very hard to achieve. You still have to be an athlete. You still have to be in shape. You still have to have dieted and worked your ass off to get there. But you still look feminine and healthy and round and full and all of those things, right? So I think that this judging panel was spot on with this. I don't think they could have judged this much better than what they did. I was very, very happy to see this. Now, again, the reason why we were all so shocked about it is because Jen was in the center of first call out the whole time and never moved. Of 9 girls. So usually that's an indication that that person is winning. But I was told that even at prejudging, they all had Maureen in first, even at prejudging. It wasn't a finals decision. It was a prejudging decision. So last thing that we're going to do tonight is I'm going to show you guys a couple of comparison shots of the top 4. So when they came back out and they did the comparison round, final confirmation round, this is your top 4. Okay. They moved them all over the place at prejudging, and it did really look like they were moving them around Jennifer Dory, but that's not how it played out, right? So I think when you look at these photos, you can see pretty clearly that Maureen is the best balanced. And you can see here, she's not ribby, right? Not at all, right? So, I mean, every one of these girls look phenomenal, so don't get me wrong on that. They all look amazing. But the best balance here is Maureen. You know, one thing I would probably tell Jennifer in her front pose, she has a tendency to kind of kick forward onto this leg right here. I'd like to see her sit back a little bit. If you notice, like, it's almost like her knee bends backwards a little bit. She might be like double jointed or something. You don't see the other legs of these girls looking the same, right? They look different. She's just got a different, I think she might be double jointed. I don't know. But I think if she was able to sit back onto this leg a little bit more, that would probably help her round the shoulder out too. Because I feel like she's pulling this arm out, and she just needs to let the arm drop, and that would round her shoulder out a little bit more. So I think if she was able to tweak this pose, that would really, really help her look from the front. Ashley's one I think could probably tilt a little bit more. But I'm sure she's not doing that because of whatever reason that they've tried, as far as like it might make her shoulder look even smaller, kind of thing. You know, she's tried a half dozen different front poses. I think this is a pretty good front pose for Ashley. I just don't think it's quite there. I think that there's still little tweaks she can make, which she's always making. And then obviously in this shot, Deiraj is not completely in her front pose. The only thing I would say with Deiraj, again, is she's just got to work on the waistline. Because even here you can see she's the thickest in the waistline through these 4 girls. So that's going to be where she's got to continuously focus her pressure. And then also she's got quite a bit more muscle mass on her legs. That's pretty clear. She's got more muscle mass here. So she's just going to have to be careful with that. But, you know, when you're looking at best balance from top to bottom, I mean, she wins it hands down. She wins it hands down, best balance. They're all beautiful girls. All the presentation details are spot on. All of it, you know. Balance. Balance, balance, balance. Where's my back pose? There it is. And here's your back pose. So again, Deiraj is not quite set into her pose yet, but she's still pretty good. She just doesn't have her arms down yet. She's getting her hair off. But here's where you can really see that imbalance in Jennifer's glutes. See that? That's a big deal. I mean, again, this can't get any more perfect. That is a perfect back shot. I don't even know what I would tell her to fix here. Like, I don't. You know, maybe she could come a little bit closer on her feet, but I think she kind of needs to do that. We talked about this with Ashlyn too. Ashlyn's a shorter girl, so she tends to go a little bit wider on her back pose. And I think because they're shorter, that kind of helps to make them look a little bit bigger, a little bit more X-framed. So I don't think I would even do that. Ashley, I would say Ashley's back pose is second here among these top 4. And I mean, honestly, I would probably put Deiraj in third. She just needs to work on this, right? If she can get this fullness back in her glutes like she had last year and fix this imbalance, then she's going to be right there fighting again, right? This was not a close call, though. I mean, Maureen did win this hands down. I think there was like one judge that had Jennifer in first, and everybody else had Maureen in second, or had Maureen in first. And this is it right here. It's really clear. I mean, from the front, they're all very, very comparable. They all have their pluses and minuses from the front. I mean, honestly, from the front, Maureen killed it, but they all look really, really good. But this right here is where that rubber hits the road. You guys see that? That makes sense? So I'm not telling you to pose on both sides on your front pose to be a jerk. I'm telling you so that you don't create imbalances. I'm telling you so that you can build a good physique, a balanced physique from front to back, right? And with that wraps up tonight. No, Ashley does not need to grow more glutes. Absolutely not. She's good. Any questions? Again, I was very, very happy with how this all played out. Tomorrow night, as long as my voice is okay and my health is okay, I plan on going through 11 through 15 and like the girls that we thought could be dark horses, things like that. I got video of all of them as well. So I do want to still talk about them. So that's what I plan on doing tomorrow night. And then we will do wellness as well. We got a lot of this show to talk about. I know Bikini has been the big like talk of everything, you know what I mean? Because it was the biggest shock when it came to the results. But across the board, we had a lot of new Olympia champions this year, you guys. A lot of new ones. And that just shows you that this is a very volatile sport. It's a matter of who shows up best, and the judges are really doing their job. That was the biggest thing that I noticed this year. It's like man, like these judges are on it. They're on it, you guys. I was really, really impressed. I was really, really impressed. So pink is such a individual color. I'd have to talk to the people individually. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was for the analysis comment. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. It was an amazing show. Just across the board, the talent was just unreal. Just unreal. But I will say to the promoters of the Olympia, thank you for taking it back to Orlando, because I think everybody got sick coming out of Vegas. I don't know anybody who's not sick who got at least for a day got sick. I mean, I was down and out for the count for 48 hours. It was bad, you guys. I was like, frick, I couldn't even get out of bed. It's terrible. You know, you just the hard part about it is that, you know, Vegas in December is freezing. It's cold. So when you're in the casino, it's hot, and you go out to the outside. In the casino, you got all the smoke. Out on the street, you got all the weed smoke. So there's no getting away from it. And then there's music blasting all weekend long. So you're screaming over top of that. You don't sleep because nobody sleeps Olympia weekend. It's just, that's the way it is. So all of that just combines together. It was a volatile situation. It was like a big petri dish of people. Yeah, we all got it. We all got it. So, yeah, I was like, I can't let this go another day without talking about it, right? So, yeah, it's hitting literally everyone. Even Jennifer Dory, I talked to her after the day after the Olympia, she got hit with it too. I mean, everybody, you know, especially for competitors, being in a situation like that where your immune system is already compromised, it's not good. It's not good. So I am so happy that it is going back to Orlando next year. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I was like, I want warmth. And it's also in November, which is fantastic. So, and plus the other thing too is that because Vegas is just so dry, man, it was so that doesn't help with like throat when you're losing your voice. My skin felt like sandpaper. I was like, couldn't get enough freaking I couldn't get enough water in me to save my life. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah. Well, thankfully I didn't have a stomach bug. My biggest issue is I have no appetite, none. I finally started kind of going back to hitting my macros again today. I've been way under eating, and it's just because I couldn't for the first 2 days when I got home. It's because my throat hurt so bad it hurt to eat. So I was like sucking on like sorbet and popsicles, and that was it. So all I had to say is thank God it's going back to Orlando. That's it. That's all I got to say. So any other questions before I wrap this up? I know it's been a while. We've been on here for an hour and 15 minutes, and that was only the top 10 of Bikini. So we got a lot to do. We have plenty of time before we have shows again. So we have lots of things to talk about. So I hope that these videos and stuff helped. That is always my biggest thing when I go to these big shows, is I try to get as close to the media pit and head judge as I possibly can. And I was literally right behind the media pit and off to the side, because if I sit behind them, then I can't get over the cameras. So I was very happy with my situation, my placement. I got front row seats, basically, as close as I could. But yeah, any other questions? I'll leave it open for one more minute. Hopefully my voice or my coughing and stuff wasn't too bad, you guys. I tried to get it away from the mic. Sorry. No other questions? All right, guys. So like I said, as long as I can talk tomorrow night, We will do the 11 through 15, plus the people we talked about as being dark horses, things like that, for bikini. And depending on how long that goes, we might go into like figure and wellness as well, because I have video and everything from them too, which depends on how long we go. But thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Subscribe, like, comment. Make sure you turn on the notification bell because it will tell you when we go live. It will tell you a half an hour before we go live. If you need anything from me, posing, suit, whatever, we got our activewear out now too. We have the 12 Deals of Christmas sale up. That link is in my description box here on YouTube. I don't think I put it in my bio on Instagram yet, but I'll do that. So grab yourself some good deals for Christmas. You can tell the folks in the blue shorts. I know, right? God, I can't imagine how sick they were. God, you guys, I can't do crowds anymore. I'm getting old. I was like, there's too many people here. This is way too much. This is way too much for me. I can't do it. It's not my thing anymore. I'm like, I need my house in the woods with my fireplace and my dogs. I'm good. I need to go home. With that, I'm going to let you guys go. Hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow night. All right.